I visited 4 zoos in 4 days while moving across the country. It's day number 3. Let's go to a zoo.
A little cloudy of a day, but all the better because that means the animals come out to play. We're in Columbus, Ohio. We're hitting the zoo. Only thing left to do is to pack up the bag, eat some breakfast, and hit the road. So,
I had a freshly made waffle because a nice lady offered to make me one. It was nice and warm, but the day was turning out to be rainy and cold. As I arrived at the Columbus Zoo, I was meeting the weather brought about by tropical storm Ophelia. It would be overcast for most of the day. The Columbus Zoo features a large lake in the middle of the grounds. From here you can find various paths leading to the different sections of the zoological park. The first area to explore is North America on the route to Africa. Typically there's a tram to take you up to Africa, but it was not operating today. A great zoo tip is to actually go when it's a little overcast. Lots of the charismatic mammals will be more active than they are on hot days. The mammals will take advantage of the cooler temperatures naturally. It's a bit counterintuitive, but it usually leads to a smaller crowd and a better experience. The North American section was in the beginning processes of a redesign while I was there, and that left some habitats empty. There's always something going on at a zoo. New habitats, new animals, new techniques, new ways to engage the public, or just good old-fashioned maintenance work. I wonder how this place will look different after the redesign is complete. Everything around us is in a state of change. While working at the St. Louis Zoo, I spent a lot of time learning about and talking about that place's history. In my short time there, I got to see some of the process of change unfolding. Zoos have come a long way from the beginning of their history. There was this old picture I used to look at in an employee hallway showing what the St. Louis Zoo used to look like. I would stand there for long periods of time musing about how things have changed. The first modern zoo were products of the late 18th century in Europe. The first modern zoo in what is now the United States was opened to the public in 1974 in Philadelphia. In the 150 years since then, so much in the world has changed. It only makes sense that the zoos would change with it. Yet, as our science and understanding gets better, our impact on the living environment gets all the while worse. Now is the time to commit to living a more sustainable lifestyle, which happens in so many different ways, and it's something we can all do. Now is the time to hold the major contributors accountable for their actions. Making it to the heart of Africa meant a change in scenery. Each zone at the Columbus Zoo has a different theme that highlights the region of the animals being seen in that area. At times, there is a heavy entertainment factor. Unlike Indianapolis, which has one roller coaster, the Columbus Zoo has a full water park called Zambezi Bay. Though I'm here in the off-season, so it's not open. Also not open are the shops and restaurants in the Moudoua village. I'm seeing less, but there are no crowds or lines, so there are both pros and cons. The entertainment factor does extend to the habitat designs themselves, and many have a sense of whimsy, like an airplane in the lion habitat. The cheetahs were also up and moving around on this cloudy day. The large open habitat composing the majority of the heart of Africa's acreage was perhaps one of the best habitats I'd seen on my trip, and the animals were particularly active on account of the colder weather. The Columbus Zoo has an associated safari park called the Wilds, located about 2 hours to the east. If this large multi-species habitat on the zoo's campus is an appetizer for an even grander showing at the Wilds, then the Wilds must be an amazing experience. I'll have to visit on a different trip someday. It reminds me of a similar project that was beginning while I was working in St. Louis. It must be much underway now, and I'm excited to visit that when it opens in a few years.
So it's 11:11 right now. We've been here for about an hour and a half, and the zoo is pretty fun. We're off to another section.
We saw lots of active animals in the heart of Africa. Let's see what they're doing in the polar frontier. Turns out the Arctic fox, napping. Turns out the grizzly bears, well, they were also napping. Now, there's still the polar bear, and I wonder what they're going to be doing. Turns out the polar bear isn't napping.
I love him.
But they're not moving much, just kind of hanging out. The polar bear, probably the most emblematic animal of climate change. Their homes dwindling every year. What mathematics are performed to balance the vanishing of ice and the opening of new shipping lanes? Jane Goodall once said, "Only if we understand can we care, only if we care can we help, only if we help shall they be saved." We need time to care and time to understand. Time is the most valuable thing we have. We never get any more of it, but its value lies outside of what we can see. I remember when I first saw a moose. I was hiking in Colorado, and the first sighting was across a vast field. While I kept walking, and the moose kept walking, eventually we ended up crossing paths. Moose don't have very good eyesight, so me being so close to a huge megafauna is not exactly a good deal. If she was scared, she might trample me, so I didn't move a muscle. Luckily, I wasn't trampled by 550 pounds of mama moose meat. She must have used her other senses to observe I was there. Maybe to better understand, we need to utilize more than what we can see. After visiting Africa, North America, and the Arctic, it was time to ride the Columbus Zoo's train. This is going to be the last zoo train I will ride on my trip, so let's see how it is. The ride starts off strong with a look into the back of a few habitats, but quickly you find yourself looking at a lot of decoration and infrastructure. The Halloween decorations were up in Columbus, and skeletons were out. The animal skeleton statues are always funny because they have bones where anatomically there are no bones, but that's alright, they're just decorations. The ride began and ended very strongly. The final stop of the morning was at a barn. Here you can see such domesticated animals as goats and cows and all that. Someday I hope to have a farm, somewhere I can work for myself and with nature, someplace I can really help out and give back. That's my dream, and I'm going to achieve it someday no matter what happens. Back at the center of the zoo, there were a couple of elephants moving around in the cold weather. Brian the rhino, though, he wasn't moving much at all. The elephants, they were swaying and throwing dirt around, and Brian was just sitting there, not moving much at all. I'm having a lot of luck today with the animals I'm seeing, so now it's time to move on to the next section at the Columbus Zoo. It was time to take an Asian quest. After some more walking, I saw a larger herd of elephants that included some young ones as well. It was great to be able to see so many elephants when often you don't get to see any elephants at all when you go to a zoo. I even caught a glimpse of a pair of red pandas high in the trees. I was not lucky enough to see them moving, though. There's an aviary that was closed for some reason. Luckily, you were able to see very much of what was inside from the out. Even the tiger was out on this cloudy day. From a distance, you can see the power. While working at the St. Louis Zoo, we got a new female tiger, and on many days you can hear our male tiger howling out to her. As I'm making this video, those two have had a litter of their own, who someday might live in Columbus. You see, zoos across the United States work together to ensure that there are tigers in zoos for many years to come. And of course, a whole bunch of other species. Teams of dedicated professionals spend hours studying newborn animals because there's always something more to be learned. In some cases, animals are reintroduced into the wild, but not always. Even while some babies are carefully monitored in prestigious zoos, every baby born in the wild faces a devastating future. It begs the question, who will be the last one to see a tiger? It's a scary thought, but one that extends beyond the season of Halloween. Though dread isn't the emotion you want to get stuck in. All around the world, there are people who are working for change. There's reason for hope, but hope without action doesn't amount to much. Money raised at zoos like the Columbus Zoo help fund conservation projects around the globe. Without hopeful people doing difficult work, that money might be placed somewhere else, perhaps not doing anything at all. We are living during a great intersecting of lines. It can make you feel very small. Driving across the country can also make you feel very small. So many crises out of your control can make you feel very small. It somehow becomes very easy to forget how truly we are very large. Individually we have power, together we are powerful. They have a great building where you can see all kinds of different animals, including the smallest hoofed animal in the world and also the largest bats I have ever seen in my life. Bats are one of the most diverse families of mammals out there, meaning you probably have a local bat near you. You might not have a local monkey, though, but in some places of Asia they do. Thus ends my Asian quest at the Columbus Zoo. Brian the Rhino, or Brino as some may call him, was up and moving, probably off to eat lunch. I'm right there with you, Brino. I ate at Wild Burger right outside the Asia area, and besides the conservation lake. In the spirit of eco-friendliness, I had a black bean burger, which was pretty standard food from a zoo.
I just finished lunch, and I'm really feeling all these zoo days. But we gotta keep going.
The Columbus Zoo is the largest zoo that I am to visit on this trip. At over 400 acres of zoo, there is a lot to see, and once again, just not enough time. After lunch, I crossed under a road to the other half of the Columbus Zoo, featuring Shores and Aquarium, Reptiles, Congo Expedition, and Australia and the Islands. I thought it was cool how they built this tunnel underneath this road, and it shows you how some zoos struggle to improve and expand their facilities. We start off with some Humboldt penguins, but the majority of the coastal aquariums will be a later on type of deal. Our first real stop is the reptile building, which features tons of cool amphibians and reptiles. There are some Chinese alligators outside the building. From my experience at the St. Louis Zoo, I know that these outdoor reptiles will often need to go indoors during the colder months. I hope these alligators can enjoy their time outdoors. The Reptile Discovery Center is a much more modern reptile building than either St. Louis or Cincinnati, which both have historic buildings housing the reptiles. This building was built in 2012 and offers a much more modern look at reptile keeping. After the reptiles, we were off on a Congo expedition. We stop in an aviary and see some really cool birds, before seeing a rare leopard sighting. The luck of a cloudy day strikes again, and a whole bunch of gorillas are up and moving. I try to show I'm friendly by not looking at them directly and sitting still and quiet, but they're not too interested in me. Probably because my ape walk isn't very good. The Columbus Zoo has a lot more gorillas than the St. Louis Zoo has, and it has gorillas of all ages. In St. Louis, there's a bachelor group of gorillas, meaning that it's all males. But here they have family groups. The kids watch the adults watch the elders. Still, it's incredible to see their connections. It seems like everyone was having a snack on this cloudy day. While I was there, a baby gorilla had recently been born. Their habitats feature lots of places to climb and places to lounge. Gorillas have called Columbus home since 1951. The Columbus Zoo even once had a gorilla born in 1956, and he lived to be 60 years old. Based on all of this, it seems like the Columbus Zoo is great for caring at gorillas. The Columbus Zoo also typically has bonobos, but while I was there, the habitat was undergoing a renovation.
Just hung out with the gorillas. We just have one section left here at the Columbus Zoo, and then we're off to Pittsburgh.
The Congo Expedition also has mandrills and an okapi. Fun fact about the okapi, their closest relative is the giraffe. If you look at the horns on the okapi's head, you might see the family resemblance. The second to last stop of the day was at Australia and the islands. Now I believe that there are some strange things on these islands, and even stranger things in the past, like Homo florensis and many elephants. But I have a tough time believing that there are still dinosaurs roaming the outback. That's just silly. Here we get some prime orangutan content. These great apes eat up to 400 different kinds of food, with fruit being the most searched for food. Talk about a diverse diet. The name orangutan means person of the forest in the Malay language, and stories say that these great apes are humans hiding in the forest to avoid work. I get it, but finding all that fruit must take a long time. I think orangutans are so neat, but like so many other animals, they're facing many threats. The easiest way that we can help wonderful orangutans and the whole planet is to be informed consumers. By withholding our money and spending it wisely, we can work to shift the market and take power away from mega corporations. Look around you. This is all there is. We are only left with choices to make. Like, what do we protect? What's worth it? There's no way to go back and change the past, and the responsibility to shape the future is always accompanying the present. Yet while moving, you don't feel so weighted down, even if you lug a lot of stuff around. The only responsibility is to move in a straight line. It's not what life is, though. It's more like the back roads and gas stops. It's like taking a moment to appreciate what you have around you right now. It's like taking the time to fix the little things and not worrying so much about the big things as a result. Really, I'm not sure what life is. I only hope that I'm living. After Australia and the islands, I got to see some more manatees on the other side of coasts and aquariums. Only 3 places care for manatees outside of Florida in the United States, and I get to see 2 in 2 days. Pretty lucky to be able to make this trip. The Columbus Zoo has an awesome program that provides rehabilitated manatees with a temporary home before they are ready to be released back into the wild. Or a permanent home for one manatee, the big one here, affectionately named Stubby. Stubby has been at the Columbus Zoo since 2005, and while here, has had some troubles, but she's proven time and time again her resilience. Manatee is such an iconic animal, but since 2020, populations in Florida have been suffering shocking losses. Resilience is only a factor when things are given a break. If ecosystems don't have time to repair, then there's no resistance. The Columbus Zoo sends manatees and people down to Florida to help. But you don't have to be in Florida to help manatees. Near you, there's a waterway, and doing what you can do to help clean and keep clean that water will eventually help the ocean. The whole Earth is a closed system, and anything we do here has ramifications across the entire globe, even more than we might realize. Like, all life on Earth depends on water, yet we treat it like it's disposable. We disrupt the natural cycle of things for what a corporation might consider a good idea. But just like climate change, some people knew better but pushed ahead anyway. We live in a world that is shaped by the whim of a few, yet what might happen if the positive will of the people began to shape the world to be a more equitable place for all life? If negative actions can ripple throughout the globe, then what might stop a positive action from doing the same? 3 o'clock, and we just finished the Columbus Zoo. Now we have a 3-hour drive to Pittsburgh. Let's go. And just like that, I'm back on the road. I'm nearing the final stretch of my journey. From Columbus to Pittsburgh, the rain had cleared up throughout most of the day, but as I traveled further east and over the mountains, I was met with even more rain, which was very unfortunate. In West Virginia, it was so foggy that I couldn't see anything, and I got turned around looking for a gas station. On those steep hills, I was really afraid, but eventually I found my way back to the highway, and I made it to Pittsburgh safe and sound. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video, and subscribe for more videos in the future. I'm going to be doing lots of travel videos and ice cream reviews, so check them out, and thank you once again. Tune in next time for another zoo video. Pittsburgh.